Goddess of Awesome here, and it's really early in the morning. It's like a few minutes before 6, and I just had this profound dream, so I wanted to share it really fast. Before I do, I just want to say yesterday I found my brother on the street. You know, he's homeless, and I've been looking for him for a few days, and I haven't been able to find him. So I wanted to buy him a pair of pants, which I don't really have a lot of money to do that right now, but he invited me to a movie a few days ago or a couple weeks back and a meal for my birthday. So I found him yesterday and I took him to Walmart and got him a pair of $10 pants and some socks and some underwear and a new $5 shirt. And I'm going to see him today. We're going to do a matinee for my birthday, even though it's a couple weeks early. I want to share with you a profound dream I just had, too profound to write it down, so I'm going to share it with you like this. In my dream, I was somewhere, and family who I would consider judgmental was in my dream. It was my, well, actually, that's not how it started. It started with an RV ride with my sister and her kids and her husband. We were on our way somewhere in an RV. They just took an RV trip in real life, so maybe that's why it's in my dream. And I had my dogs, and Josh and Elizabeth were taking me somewhere. And we came across some dirty, muggy, rivery water and some boulders, and somehow that we were able to make it through that, and we made it to our destination. And it was a really beautiful space, and all I wanted to do was take a bath. And my mom was there, and it was Christmas time, I guess, or some reason to have gifts. So I was putting together bottles of Epsom salt that I was just going to wrap with a bow. But the Epsom salt wasn't like kernels of salt. It was like jewels or gems, like multicolored stones, maybe semi-precious stones. They're all multicolored. It's just similar how you would fill a bottle of sand at a fair. That's what I was doing. I was filling a couple bottles. I didn't have a lot of salt, and I only had a couple bottles. But I filled them up, and I was going to give them away as gifts. And my Aunt Bonnie showed up, and my Uncle Alan. And I feel like that meant the rest of my family on their side was going to show up. And I would consider most of them a little judgmental. They're very religious, and they have a good way of energetically making you feel inferior. I felt this from them my whole life, you know. But I remember getting the bottles together and needing to get them together as gifts. My cousin Kimberly showed up. She's a daughter of Bonnie, and maybe was a little rebellious growing up. She fell in line after a while and became, you know, a better good girl. But Kim, if anyone I could relate to, probably would be her. So after my bath, and after I gave away my first bottle of Epsom salt, multicolored Epsom salt, I gave it to my Aunt Bonnie. And Kimberly showed up after that. And I didn't know who the other bottle was for. I can't remember if I gave it to Kimberly or if I was saving it for somebody. But Kimberly was so happy to see me, and she told me she had some gifts for me and wanted me to sit down. So she had some beauty gifts. So I sat down on this chair, and I was wearing Snow White's gown, but it was dirty and it was tatted. It was a rag dress. It was her gown, but it was ragged, old and dirty. Around this time, my brother showed up at the door my homeless brother looking like he did last night. And I remember having concern for him, and I told them to let him in. And that's when my Uncle Alan went to the door and dealt with him. And I don't know what happened to my brother after that. Kimberly told me she had a few gifts. She was going to give me some beauty treatments, and then she was going to give me a massage. So she did. And then brought some weird laser thing to work on this, which I don't think I have a bad this, but she worked on some laser thing, and I mean, she gave me 20 years, 20 years back. And then I was laying on the table. She had a healing table. She wanted me face up. My mom walked by. And I wasn't draped fully, so my mom was like, maybe you need to pull the blanket up. And I looked down and I could see there was just a teeny bits of just a little patch of fur showing, so I covered myself up the rest of the way. And Kimberly didn't act like nothing happened. She didn't pay no mind. She went ahead and kept doing her beauty treatments. When we were done, it was time to get up and go somewhere. And I was still in my ratty-tatty Snow White gown. And Kimberly was beautiful and fresh looking. And she said, before we go, I need to give you a massage standing up. So I was standing up, and she brought some kind of weird contraption. I don't know if it was another kind of laser, but she worked on my heart chakra, and I could feel intense electricity working on my heart chakra. It made me nauseous, and I felt like I needed to expel stuff. I'm not sure what it was. But I didn't get to throw up or expel anything because now it was time to leave. So Kimberly and I walked out the front door, so my brother was just but my Uncle Alan, I believe, let him in. I don't know where my brother went at this point. Now Kimberly and I are walking through these beautiful grand doors. And we get outside and there's a lot of rock. And we need to go down a mountain trail. And it seemed like there was ocean not far, but we went down this rocky path. And Kimberly looked beautiful. She was wearing just clean, beautiful clothes. And again, I was in my ratty-tatty Snow White dress. And she started to converse with me of how great it was being kids. And she came up and she started to hug on me. And almost like she was flirting with me to see, she was scanning my energy probably, but she was flirting with me to see if I was receptive to any of that feminine energy. And I just kind of went like a noodle in her arms. I was like, I don't respond to feminine energy like that. I'm heterosexual, so also my cousin's coming on to me a little bit. My defense mechanism is just to not give any energy at all, But the minute that happened, that all went away, and she became normal again, and it wasn't weird. It was more like she was feeling me out. And it was time for her to take me to some kind of meeting, like a church meeting or something. And we walked into this room, a hall, some kind of lecture hall. And there were a lot of different chairs and stuff. And she says, don't worry, we're only going to be here for a minute. And so we sat down kind of in the back. There were rows that went like this, and then next to those rows that went like this, there were rows that went like this. So she sat in the back right here, and next to her, I sat in a row that's going this way. A couple seats away from me there were a lot of young people. Everyone was in their late teens or early 20s. And apparently we both looked that way too. I mean, she just gave me this extraordinary makeover. I mean, she used lasers and she used all sorts of stuff. She gave me 20 years. And I guess she was testing people in the room to see if they'd recognize her or not. So it was a little bit of a giggle for her. She didn't know if people would actually recognize her. Maybe she should have also been much older, but yet she looked so much younger, Someone next to me, a boy, I started feeling sick. Whatever she did to my heart chakra started to surface, and I had to throw up, but it was like paper. It was like a ball of wadded paper. By the time I threw up, And I've been on so many airplane rides and stuff. I know how to discreetly vomit. So when it came time in this lecture hall to vomit, I just into my hand, and it was not very wet, juicy, but it was wet paper, like a ball of wet paper. It's very strange. Not just a chunk of wet paper, like a mashed ball, but a lot, like if paper was in water for a long time and it started to disintegrate, and it was just very expanded wet paper, that's what it was. And into my hand, and I put my hand down, and I'm just trying to be polite and be there. And I don't remember anyone speaking. It was more or less like a meeting, but no one was speaking. The boy 2 chairs down, I guess I had some paper on my chin, and he reached over and he was like, "Hey, you have something right here." And I took my paper, whatever was on my chin, and I was like, "Thank you." I was still feeling a little nauseous, but I was feeling better. And by the time a couple people recognized my cousin Kim, she got, the wind changed, and I could tell it was time to get up, and she, thought it was time to go. So we left. We got out of that meeting. In the meeting, I was still wearing my ratty-tatty Snow White dress. It was dirty, and it had holes in it, just torn. And we left the meeting, I still had the ball of paper that I had thrown up. And Kim looked at me like, "It's time to go." So we left. And the minute we left, now I'm in a spring green, like a sage green, or just a beautiful green gown flowing, like chiffon, it was flowing. And Kim now was wearing yellow. I don't know why. I don't think she was wearing yellow before. And she was like, "Come on, Sarah, people are recognizing me." And so it was time to hurry. And to dodge out of way, there was like a riverbed. There was a lot of grass outside this lecture hall. But to dodge out of the way, it was all flat, To dodge out of the way, there was some boulders again, some rock, like a rocky path that led to the creek. And I went into the creek, and I remember getting my new dress dirty. Some kind of dirt smudge. And I noticed because it was a fresh dress. I had just been in a ratty-tatty one, And Kim gets down there with me, and she's giggling at this point. She's like, "People are starting to recognize me." And someone did, and they followed us outside. And when Kim realized the game was up, the gig was up, the joke was up. Not that we were playing a joke on anybody, but again, we went to this lecture hard to see if anyone would recognize her. Maybe that's part of the reason why we went in there. So we crawled out of the river bed stream where the rocks were. We crawled out, which wasn't high or far. It was just a few steps to get out. It was just enough to dodge down, We got out, and there was a girl in her teens, maybe late teens, and she was speaking to Kim, and they knew each other. And Kim and her had a pleasant exchange, and I'm just standing there like, wow, I don't know what's going on, but okay, or, just going with it. So then Kim, after the girl left, it was time to go elsewhere. Somewhere after she spoke to this friend, I was left out in the green grass for a while. I didn't know where Kim was, but I just kept walking, and then Kim showed up again, and we were in like a housing track. And she just kind of was there on the front porch of some place, a house. And I walked up and I met her. And again, she was wearing this fresh, beautiful yellow dress. So we start walking, and she starts talking to me and asking me about what I desire in a man. And questions like that about a relationship. What do I desire? What would I accept? What things am I drawn to? We kept walking, and suddenly we're on a field, and there were lots of different boys, young boys. I mean, we were all fairly young, right? She had given me some kind of makeover. I was 20 years younger. She was young. We were, I guess, late teenagers. Maybe 20 at most. And so we're out on this field, and there's couples of kids. There's a boy and a girl, like brother and sisters, you know, playing. And she basically asked me to scan, you know, to look around. Is there anything that entices me? And it was almost like every ethnic background, every diverse ethnic background, and any color combination that was possible, you know. And I looked around. There was one that looked interesting. I mean, I thought he was young. I mean, I don't know. My eyes perception, you know, I didn't see myself as a super young person. I mean, I'm 39 right now. So this teenage person or young person somehow was distracted. I don't know if Kim went to speak to him, or if his sister started to speak to him, or someone started to speak to him and distract him. Well, at the time that the one looked attractive to me started being distracted, all the other ones started approaching me, you know, and now I'm surrounded with all these people. They had balls, like they were kicking balls, maybe they were playing soccer. So all these different, you know, different diverse people were coming up around me. And a couple of them reached for my private parts, and I was like, get away, get off me, you know what I mean? I couldn't say it was one ethnicity or just the other. There was a diverse of all sorts of people, you know, all sorts of color combinations and hair combinations, all sorts. But I remember a couple of them reaching for my privates, and I was like, get off, and I'm in a dress, you know, and I had to defend my personal space. And after I got them all off of me, I told that to Kim, and she seemed a little surprised. She was like, really, that's so odd. She's like, why don't you come over here and meet this person? He was the one who was distracted originally. And it was an okay interaction. There's nothing special about it. I mean, nothing unique or, you know, he was just a teenage kid of some nature. And I didn't feel any spark or anything like that. He just had pretty eyes. Anyways, I mean, not that I was attracted to them, but I noticed that his eyes were different. His eyes were different than in all the other eyes, all the other people. So we said a few words, we spoke briefly, and then it was time to leave that space, the field with all the kids. And we started to walk away, and I told Kim about the people grabbing towards me, trying to grab my private parts, but just being inconsiderate and rude and taking, you know. And she was like, hold on a second. She was like, let's go back and revisit this again. So we went back to the one with the beautiful eyes, or the eyes that shined with beauty. And now he seems even younger. I don't know why. I mean, he's getting younger by the second. And she's like, let's walk back and let's just walk back. So we walked back. And when this person's eyes met my eyes, he started to get like his eyes started to flirt with me, you know? And the closer I got, he smiled bright. And when I met his eyes with acknowledgement, he sparkled even more, you know? And then we turned around and didn't look at him. And she was saying a few words. She was like, the interaction you want or need is the person who responds to you like this, the one who meets you with his eyes. She's like, let's look back again. So we looked back again, because when we turned, our backs were facing him, right? We turned back again, and the minute we made eye contact, all of this effervescent energy started to sparkle from the eyes, you know, and his smile lit up. And as I got closer, walked closer, just all this giddiness and goodness, you know? Like he was speaking to me with his eyes. His spirit was speaking to me up here. And I noticed it, and she said, you know, that's the kind of interaction you're looking for. That's what you want. You want someone who lights up for you like that, you know? So when I had my aha moment, she was like, okay, I think we're done here. and we turned our backs to all that, the field with all the young people, the young person with the sparkly eyes who kept lighting up and smiling. Every step I took, he smiled a new smile. It was very genuine, very genuine. So after all that was done, she's like, okay, I think we're done here. And we turned around and we started walking, continue to walk on. And she said a few words to me, and then she said, I think it's time for you to meet the eagles. And my mind was like, eagles? The only thing I could think of was like Eagle Scouts, you know? And my grandma's church definitely had a Boy Scout situation, and there were Eagle Scouts, you know? Not just the Eagle Scouts, but also when she said that, when it's time for you to meet the eagles, she said. That was the first thought, but then there was a second thought that happened at the same time, which is that saying something about, if you want to fly with the eagles, don't roam around with the turkeys, right? So that was a split thought that happened at the same time. Eagle Scouts, but also don't roam with the turkeys if you're looking or seeking to fly with the eagles. So that was intriguing. And after that, my alarm went off. And I wanted so bad to try to go back to sleep, to get back into that dream. And then I realized all the things that happened in that dream, and it was so profound. And then I did try again to go back to sleep, but all these things started coming up, little small bits of memory. And then I realized I probably need to record this dream. It was very profound and very insightful and very interesting. And that's how it ended. It's time for you to meet the eagles, she said. So, there you go. Today is April 15th, 2018. Yesterday was April 14th, 2018, and I had that dream just on the early wee mornings right before 6 a.m., I'd say in the 5 o'clock a.m. hour, 5 o'clock a.m. to 5:45 a.m., or who knows how long I was out there for on the astral. But my cousin Kim came to me. I've never had her in a dream before. That was very interesting. I just want to say real fast that my pursuits to be free, to free myself from the adult entertainment industry, are definitely motivated, partially motivated by the desire to maybe one day have a life partner. You know, I'm 39. I have never been married. I don't have children. I would be an amazing life partner for somebody. Somebody would be very lucky to have me as a best friend for their whole life, you know. So I've been making efforts to free myself as best I can, part of which is to create this video, you know, my YouTube channel and a website for you, have an online presence. Hopefully that will support me. And I'm sure all the other endeavors will happen. I mean, I definitely want to work with underprivileged kids, you know, and my horses. I want to do charity work for foster children with my horses, you know, and share the magic. Do you hear the crows? Can you hear them? Everyone's awake right now because it's early morning. Anyways, speaking about crows, bringing them in, the crow represents the void where all things are possible. Their blackness represents the space of creation where all things are possible. So I'm going to end this video here now. That was my very profound dream that just happened right now. I'm the Goddess of Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Bright blessings and be well.